Folks, there's no joke on this particular video. On this episode, I'm simply going to ask you to help me with this channel. There are several things you can do to help me. The first is, of course, you can give my videos a thumbs up in YouTube. The second thing you could do is maybe copy my videos to your site and mirror them. Mirror means that you're copying somebody else's video, and provided the video is not altered, provided you're not sort of cutting it out and editing my name out of the credits and putting your own name in its place, as long as you keep the video as it is, then I'm quite happy for people to put my videos on their own channel. You can use a program called iLivid to download YouTube videos. iLivid. Do a Google search for iLivid, all one word, and then download the software, and you'll find it's extremely easy to download YouTube videos. Now, of course, what you can do is send me jokes. If the jokes are a little bit strong, then it doesn't matter, because I can alter the joke and try and tone it down a little bit. But I really would appreciate jokes. My email address is given at the start of most of my videos, so please do send me jokes if you have them. The purpose of this series is not just to entertain. There is a method to my madness, and it's partly to educate people and to warn people. See, I've tried speaking to evangelical Christians, and like other people who've said the same thing, I'm just fed up of the sheer arrogance of so many people who you meet in evangelical Christianity. I truly wonder how many evangelical Christians are even saved. I think very few. The heresies, the blasphemies in evangelical churches are unbelievable. And yet these people are often uncorrectable and unteachable. So what do you do when people make the most heinous, wicked, blasphemous statements and you can't correct them? Let me give you an example. As a young baby Christian in 1991, I went to St Austell Baptist Church in Cornwall, and two home group leaders, my home group leaders, came to my house, and she told me, quote, the Trinity was pagan. They were sitting side by side, the home group leader and his wife. Quote, the Trinity is pagan. I spoke to the pastor. I then wrote to the pastor. I then went above the pastor's head to the president of the Baptist Union. Nothing happened. I can give you example after example after example of similar wrongs and things which I have seen. Another example, St Austell Bay Community Church. I don't know if that is still their name, but in the 1990s they were called St Austell Bay Community Church. I went there as a guest once, and a person called Ray was told to go into the middle of a group of people and to start repenting of his sins. And there were young women and boys and girls, even very young children, surrounding him, and they were touching him and speaking in tongues while he was confessing his sins. Now, Ray wasn't confessing enough juicy sins. So an elder who Ray had privately confessed certain sins to said in a very loud voice so everyone could hear, oh, and Ray also wishes to confess the sins of masturbation, homosexuality and fornication. And the elder said this in a very loud voice in front of women and young children. Now, these three things which Ray had confessed, he confessed in private to the elder, and now the elder is gossiping them around the church publicly. I wrote to that church, and I had a letter back, and I was told that I had bitterness in me. I had the sin of bitterness. So, folks, what do you do with people who are not only pig-ignorant, uneducated fools, which, frankly, is the vast majority of evangelical Christians today, but they are the most conceited, arrogant, self-righteous little sods you've ever met? I mean, truly, you don't meet atheists. You don't meet Muslims. I've never met a Muslim who's as nasty as these people. They are so damn self-righteous and uncorrectable and unteachable. I've met Jehovah's Witnesses who are nicer people than evangelical Christians. Now, Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that every evangelical Christian is unsaved or a hypocrite. There are some evangelical Christians who are genuine, who love God, who serve God. But very few. I don't know of any where I live. I gave up on church. You get fed up of the self-righteousness and the hypocrisy of little sods. So what do you do in that situation? What you can do is mock. And the great thing about humour is, you see, it's no good making jokes about Billy Graham being gay, because Billy Graham is not homosexual, he's not gay. But people in evangelical churches like Bishop Eddie Long, who has preached against homosexuality, and yet he has had accusations of homosexual contact from 4 young men, whom Bishop Eddie has settled out of court with. And he settled out of court not with his own money, but with church money. The church that he's the pastor of, all the money raised through the tithes and offerings, millions of dollars of that tithe money has been spent in out-of-court settlements paying off Bishop Eddie's young lovers. Folks, that's funny stuff. That's funny stuff. And when you're dealing with people who are so self-righteous, who can't be corrected, who can't be taught, the best thing to use is to use humour. And use humour to point out their hypocrisy. So the purpose of this series is to warn and to educate. And hey, if you've got suggestions for new jokes or new videos, please contact me. I'd be quite happy to hear what you have to say. Finally, how do you refute an evangelical Christian? Well, what you do not do is take a position contrary to them. For instance, the evangelical Christian might say, speaking in tongues is for today, and you say, no, it's not, it's past. What's happening today is babbling. And then you argue. The evangelical says, no, you're wrong. Tongues is genuine for today. And you say, no, it's not, it's fake. And he says, no, you're wrong, it's genuine. And you say, no, it's fake. You're not going to get anywhere if you argue like that. Right? Find out what that evangelical Christian believes in. And then confirm that. You say, Mr. Evangelical Christian, did you tell me that you believe that divorce is wrong? Yes. And so are you against divorce in this church? Yes, that's right. Then, why is your pastor divorced? Or why are you divorced? Or why are so many people in this church divorced? Could you please explain that to me, Mr. Evangelical Christian? Do you see the technique? You find out what they say they believe, and then you ask questions politely saying, why don't you practice what you preach? There are tons of divorces in evangelical churches. There's more divorces in evangelical Christianity than there is amongst people who are in the world. And because of that, divorce tends to be played down in evangelical churches. People tend to be not terribly bothered about that. Another thing you could discuss, and this drives people absolutely nuts, this really, my goodness me, this really drives people mad. You could ask them, do you believe that the name Jesus and the name God is holy? Do you believe in the third commandment? The third commandment is that our lips should not blaspheme God. We respect God's name, and we honour God's name. What honouring God's name means is that you honour his person. I mean, yes, of course, I would agree with you that God is Yahweh in the Bible rather than God. And some people might say that the word Yeshua or some derivation of that is more accurate than Jesus. But the point is this, whether you use the name God or the more accurate Yahweh, or whether you use the name Jesus Christ or Yeshua, whichever name you choose to use, do you respect God's name? Ask an evangelical that. Do you believe that? Do you honour God in this church? Does this church, do you believe in honouring God's name? When they say yes, then what you do is you point out, well, why is it that in this church I'm hearing people say repeatedly the word God as a cuss word to express disgust, or the word Jesus, when they don't like something they'll say, oh Jesus, as a cuss word, as a swear word, or repeatedly they might use the word Jeez. I remember several years ago I was in a text chat room called Delphi Forums, and I pointed out to a young Assemblies of God girl who was also in this text chat room, and she was an Assemblies of God girl because I looked at her post for the last year. And, you know, we went to this church meeting, we were praising God, we were raising our hands and speaking in tongues and all this sort of thing. So many of her previous posts were talking about her previous, you know, church experiences in the Assemblies of God. And she kept writing in her text posts all the time the word G's. G's this and G's that. And I said, please don't do that, because you're using the word Jesus as a swear word. You're using the word G's, which means Jesus, as a term to express disgust. She then said the word G's doesn't have any meaning. So I showed her, I typed a quotation from various dictionaries to show her that what happened was 150, 200 years ago in America, people would be told, don't use the word Jesus as a swear word. So Americans then came up with this shortened form of G's, or G, which is a shortened form of Jesus, to express disgust. And that is what G's or G means. It's a shortened form of Jesus. And her response was to write little text stories about me having sex with my own mother, very graphically, very graphic. I mean, she just went berserk. But that's the way these people are. That's the way that so many of these people are. Their religion is words, talk, but they don't act like Christians. The next one is rather technical. I have found that the thing that really got me out of evangelicalism was the Trinity. Evangelical churches are notorious for appointing people to leadership positions who are the pastor's son or friends of the pastor or relatives of the pastor, people with no theological training. And when you put people like that in leadership positions, what happens is they deny the Trinity. Not by saying the words, I deny the Trinity, as happened to me in 1991 in St Austell Baptist Church. What they tend to do is they redefine the Trinity. They'll say, oh, we believe in the Trinity. The Trinity is that Jesus is the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit, which is not the Trinity, that's modalism. Or they might say that the Father, Son and the Holy Spirit are three separate gods, which is not the Trinity, that's tritheism. It's rather technical because you need to know the Trinity in order to use that particular technique. But take it from me, here in the UK, it's very rare now to find pastors who actually are Trinitarian, because everyone's got their own take of the Trinity. And one thing you can do is, if you have 3 or 4 leaders in your church, ask each of these leaders, what is the Trinity? Write down what they say, and then go back to each one of them and say, I've got a problem here, because you've each given me totally different definitions as to what the Trinity is. Finally, one of the abiding sins of evangelical Christianity is tithing, a love of money. I think a lot of preachers are in it for money, the nice comfortable life, the free house, the free car, the free perks, the free pension, the free this, that and the other. But here's the thing, many people who preach tithing don't tithe themselves. Many preachers will say, well look, I get say 20,000 a year from the church. But hey, he's got a free house worth another 20,000 a year. He's got a free car, free health insurance, dental insurance, medical insurance. You get the picture? Maybe even his children are going to school or getting some education paid for by the church. Preachers get lots of freebies, lots of perks. But you'll find that lots of people who will tell you to tithe 10% of your income with offerings on top, they only tithe on their income as a pastor from the church. They don't tithe on the free house they get from the church, the free car. They don't tithe on the church's pension contribution. So many people who are preachers and who would tell you to tithe, they might only be tithing themselves 3% or 4%. So that's the way to deal with evangelical Christians. Find out what they say they believe, and then continually ask them questions. Look, why don't you practice what you preach? Oh, one final one. A good question to ask is this. If someone says they believe in healing today, then ask them for their glasses. Say, look, can I have your glasses, please? I want to send those glasses to Africa, so Africans can have some glasses. And they'll say, why? Wait, why? I need my glasses. No, you don't. You've just said Jesus heals today. If you believe Jesus heals today, then believe in healing. Give me your glasses. You don't need them. I'll send them to Africa. And the preachers won't give you the glasses because they really don't believe in healing. You see, much evangelical Christianity, I'm sorry to say this, but it's true, it's just hypocrisy. Thank you.